Support for impeachment drops like a rock, and smart Democrats know that means they're about to get dropped like a rock. As we talked about yesterday, polling shows that independents have really lost support when it comes to wanting this impeachment and the removal of Donald Trump from office. Now that's huge for Democrats. That's a big voting bloc that they try to woo and draw to themselves each election cycle. But now, even more dispiriting news, Emerson College in their Emerson poll revealed today that support for impeachment has dropped by 20% among black Americans, 25% drop for Hispanic Americans. In October, 58% of the black voters supported the impeachment of Donald Trump. Now, it's only 38%. This is a huge problem for Democrats. Now, what happened? Why all of a sudden this change in events? Because Nancy Botox Pelosi, in formalizing the impeachment inquiry, and then Donald Trump goading them in a 4D chess move into having public hearings. See, each day they were just kind of taking shots at the president, and there was nothing to shoot back at because we didn't know what these people were saying behind closed doors. So Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi could control the leaks, control the narrative. Now, they really wanted to do this right up to Election Day, but Donald Trump goaded them into this. The squad goaded them into this. The rabid left-loon lib progressives that are just the Kool-Aid drinkers goaded them into this. And Nancy Pelosi got outmaneuvered and bullied into formalizing the impeachment inquiry, which then meant the American people demanded that the hearings be done public. And once people got to see and hear for themselves what these so-called witnesses didn't see, didn't have to say, and the way that Adam Schiff was just absolutely trouncing on the rights of the president and doing anything and everything that he could to simply discredit the president without any actual, what's the word that I'm going for here? Oh yeah, evidence. Without any actual evidence, no crime having been committed, the American people see this for what it is, which forced Adam Schiff over the weekend to begin backpedaling on impeachment.
If the facts aren't contested and your committee is writing up the report and you don't, at least as of now, have any scheduled witnesses or depositions, do you think President Trump should be impeached?
I want to discuss this with my constituents and my colleagues before I make a final judgment on it.
And you've also said that this week's testimony, quote, goes right to the heart of the issue of bribery. And you've also said that what you've seen is, quote, far more serious than what Nixon did. Explain to me how you have not come to the conclusion that the president should be impeached. I mean, it sounds like you think he should be impeached.
Well, I certainly think that the evidence that's been produced overwhelmingly shows serious misconduct by the president. But I do want to hear more from my constituents, and I want to hear more from my colleagues. This is not a decision I will be making alone.
Oh, and Jake the Tap Tapper is none too happy about this. Why? Because Jake and Airport Terminal TV, otherwise known as CNN and PMSNBC, and the rest of the lying, legacy, corporate, corrupt mainstream media, day in and day out, have been doing nothing but reporting on the evidential removal of Donald Trump from office. Why, it's a bombshell.
The case for impeachment has never been stronger. The evidence never so riveting after yesterday's explosive testimony.
Kicking off what promises to be another explosive week in the impeachment inquiry.
We're bracing for potentially an explosive opening statement.
Those are some of the fireworks from today's explosive testimony.
Another explosive day of testimony.
High stakes heading into a potentially explosive week of testimony.
The most explosive thing.
This is a slow motion explosion.
Major breaking news right now. The explosive, truly explosive opening remarks. I can't emphasize how explosive this is. How explosive. Very explosive.
And I think it will be explosive.
Wow. The first day of public testimony in the impeachment inquiry, opening with a bombshell.
We got the bombshell.
Yesterday was a bombshell.
This has to be one of those bombshell days.
A bombshell. It was bombshell testimony.
Bombshells.
One bombshell after another.
Bombshell after bombshell.
And just like with collusion, it's another nothing burger. No, they're there. They're refusing to report on what actually happened, which was Joe Biden's son, you know, the cocaine-dealing ex-Navy who got himself thrown out of the military for dealing cocaine, who lied and denied that he had had sexual relations with that woman in Arkansas, and now a paternity test reveals, yeah, you did have relations, and that's your child. And now she's going to hit him up for palimony. Joe Biden, who got the investigator looking into Burisma, got that investigator fired, or they wouldn't get their $1 billion in aid in Ukraine, which they never did anyway. Oh, and now it's proven that Burisma, that Hunter Biden worked for in Ukraine, receiving $50,000 a month for doing nothing but having the right last name, Burisma is funded by an organization owned by George Soros. Bum, ba-dum, bum. So there you got old George Soros. Is it just me, or does George Soros look like Jabba the Hutt? So we've got George Soros paying Hunter Biden, which means he's buying influence with a sitting vice president at that time, Joe Biden, and hey, they could flip the script and turn it on Donald Trump that somehow he did something wrong in Ukraine and we can get him impeached for it. George Soros is one of the most vile, reprehensible individuals on the planet. By the way, he doesn't live here. Isn't that interference in an American election process? Have any of the Democrats been colluding with Soros? Don't you think we ought to know about it? So you've got Adam Schiff, who is contemplating whether or not to go formal with articles of impeachment. He doesn't want to do that. The polls are tanking. Support for impeachment's tanking. And he knows full well if this goes to the Senate, he's going to be called as a witness. And they aren't going to be gentle with him. Hunter Biden's going to get called. Joe Biden's going to get called. It's going to get real ugly real fast. And again, this is why Donald Trump is walking around supremely confident. Number one, because he didn't do anything. Number two, not only does this end the impeachment inquisition, this ends the Democratic Party. Way to go, Adam Schiff. So, what does the media do? They look for the next thing to hype and talk about so that you forget about impeachment. And what's that? Oh, apparently, Michael Bloomberg can beat Donald Trump.
Truth is, if he stands on a stage with Donald Trump, I think he matches up very well. He's actually a businessman. He's actually a billionaire. He's actually a philanthropist. He's all the things that Trump pretends to be.
In the smoke-filled room, you'd say, on paper, Bloomberg has the right balance of what you want to win a broad election.
The bumper sticker for Michael Bloomberg is Donald Trump, but richer, more successful, and less offensive.
How much money? Let's put it up.
Let's put it up. Can't get enough of this graphic. So we're talking about the war between the billionaires, and look at the net worth.
Clearly, Bloomberg is a lot richer than President Trump is. Those billions. Billions.
Trump is the ultimate charlatan, is the ultimate fake. He can peel that emperor's clothes off of Trump just about better than anybody. I think this is huge, huge news.
This will get the alternative left media absolutely ballistic. Because what it's showing is the mainstream lying legacy media, from the morning schmuck Mr. Magoo Joe Scarborough and his pole dancing gentleman's club wife, to Donny Deutsch and the rest of that ilk and clown squad over there at CNN and PMSNBC, like Chris feeling up his legs Matthews, they're in the tank now for the billionaire. The billionaire. Why, he's a real billionaire. He's got, you know, you do realize that once you got $1 billion, it doesn't matter whether you got 1 billion or 50 billion or 500 billion. Once you are in the billionaire category, that's more than a lot of us, most of us, put together. So, you know, to say, you know, we're going to have 2 old white billionaires and you guys are going to put them up in a, shall we say, genitalia measuring contest over who's got the bigger bank account? Really, give me a break. And by the way, is the mainstream media not paying any attention that this particular Democratic election cycle, the loons are in charge, which means the socialists, the commissars, the commies are in charge? They don't want Joe Biden because he's pale and stale. They really don't want Elizabeth Warren because she's pale and stale. These are all your typical Democrats, and they like their billionaire donors and Wall Street. And here comes Michael Bloomberg, and he's going to be the one now that unites the party. There's going to be such a revolt and a rebellion and a revolution in that party, and we get to just sit back and watch because they imploded on impeachment. They imploded on Russian collusion. And now the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media has just come out of the closet completely. No more surmising, no more guessing, no more kind of wondering. They are for the corporatist, billionaire, ruling class. Period. That's not a free press. That's not freedom of speech. That's propaganda. They've outed themselves for the propaganda machine that they are. Woohoo! What a great way to begin Thanksgiving week. Thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Keep spreading the videos. Subscriptions are climbing. The shadow banning has backed off because we're pointing it out. We're talking about it. And that does make them nervous over there at YouTube Central. So keep up the pressure. Keep sharing these videos. Get the word out. Subscribe. Resubscribe. Resubscribe. Because they'll keep kicking you off. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and smack the bell for notification of my next rant.